Church of America. We have Lieutenant Colonel Chaplain Larry Raxter from U.S. Army, Pentagon, Bryn's other job. We have Judith Simonson, who is an assistant to the Lutheran Bishop of the Greater D.C. Area Synod. We have chaplains from the regional offices in the field. We have 5 regions represented and more than 180 years of pastoral care in the BOP in this room today. Now, Bryn, since your family wasn't able to be with us and we wanted to be sure that they were a part of the greeting, we do have a short tape for the of your family members, just sending a greeting, and it's a way for them to be with you today in a special way. So we'll play that tape now.
Perfectly flat until the school year of 1963-64. That looks against home.
I'm going to need some help here.
Record our talk.
Hi, Bryn. This is Bill Bechtold. I was talking to Chris last week and realized how upset she was about not being able to come and make your retirement party in person. So I thought, since I did know all your family, it would be okay for me to call them and ask them to go ahead and record our talk so they could be a part of today's special event. What you'll hear next, Bryn, is your family and messages to you for your special day. Okay, Chad, the machine's on. You want to go ahead and give a message?
Hi, Dad. This is Chad. Wanted to wish you congratulations on such a successful career, and wish I could be there. I look forward to seeing you at Thanksgiving, and hopefully more than that. Again, congratulations, Dad. I love you. Bye.
Okay, thanks, Chad. Okay, Rhonda, go ahead with your message.
Hi, Bryn, there. Congratulations. Sorry I couldn't be there. I talked to President Clinton this morning, and he was sorry he couldn't be there either. I love you. Congratulations, and I look forward to celebrating with you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rhonda. We'll talk to you later. Okay, Chris, go ahead with your message.
Dad, I was thinking of you on Thursday. I miss and love you and wish I could be there. Thanks for all your help and support in my career with the Bureau, and I'm glad to be a lot closer to us and your grandkids. Love you much.
Thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Okay, Helen, go ahead. I think we're ready.
Hi, honey. This is difficult. I've been partying for 35 years. And all I want you to do is come on home. And you know, honey, we wouldn't miss this for the world. We love you too much.
There you go. Bringing us tissues.
And now I'll ask Reverend Lingdahl to come forward and offer the invocation.
What a joy this is. This is the first time I've ever seen Bryn speechless. It's marvelous. It was was worth it just for that. Welcome to you. Let us then pause and come before our eternal God. Gracious God, among the many gifts that you have given us, one of the greatest is the gift of friendship. Today we honor our friend Bryn. We thank you, God, for the friendship he has given us so freely. We thank you for his spirit of openness, honesty, and caring, for his wise discernment and his ability to lead. But most of all, God, we thank you for this man who walks with you and who is a pastor to all he meets, to the inmates, his co-workers, and to each of us. He has brought your grace and mercy through his pastor's heart. For this, we deeply thank you and him. As we celebrate and thank Bryn for his years of beautiful service, we ask, God, that your blessings would remain with him, with Helen, and with all of his family. In the spirit of joy and friendship, we ask that you will bless us all and the food that you so well provide. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And now, Bryn, we want you to just relax and enjoy. Bryn, this is a promise. Bryn, I have a promise here. There are no more surprises. We'll now have our meal, and I want you to just relax and enjoy it. And we have a lot of fun following the meal, so just relax, have fun. And we'll ask the head table to begin.
You wanted to go under the car.
Roll under the car.
Determined to see if he could stop by today, but unfortunately, he's been TD-wide to South Carolina this week, so he wasn't able to stop by and share this occasion, but he did ask us, Bryn, to give you his congratulations. And he wanted to know your relationship to those other Carlson boys. So we are ready to begin the presentations, and I'd like to have ask Director Hawk to come forward and present the retirement letter.
I know there are a lot of people who want to say something, hopefully something very, very nice, which I know it will be, to Bryn today. So I'm going to keep my comments extremely brief, which is usually very difficult for me, and especially when I recognize and talk about someone who has had such a wonderful impact upon the Bureau of Prisons as Bryn Carlson has had. Reverend Lingo, when he was doing the invocation, made a comment that I think so sums up the life of Bryn Carlson when he said that Bryn is a chaplain or pastor to all with whom he comes in contact. And that is so very true of Bryn Carlson. The warmth of his personality, the absolutely sincere concern and caring for anyone and everyone that he comes in contact with on a daily basis is just so, to me, impressive and powerful. I had heard the name Bryn Carlson for many, many years in the Bureau of Prisons and had not had the opportunity to meet him or really get to know him very well until relatively late in my career, and that was when we were in Talladega, the very difficult situation there in the hostage-taking situation there. And Bryn was there basically to be pastor to the hostage members' families, but he came into the institution on regular occasions to check on the rest of us throughout the institution who were dealing in many ways with very difficult and stressful times. And he had the courage and the ability and the strength to still be pastor to all the rest of us in that institution. And I found that so wonderful, the compassion in his heart, the sincerity in the way he reached out to all of us. And he and I stood and talked at length one day about lots of things. And I know he knew, and I knew in my heart I knew, that he was very much pastoring to me at that time in terms of allowing us to shift our focus from the pressure at hand and really reach out to everyone in that institution. And I think that is just It personifies the person that Bryn Carlson is. Whether he's working with penitentiary inmates, whether he's working at the federal level or the state level, whether he's working with staff, he's working with other clergy throughout the system, whoever he's dealing with, the sincerity, the warmth, and the caring, and the genuine regard for humankind is so obvious and evident in Bryn Carlson. I believe you all know how important I think our chaplaincy programs are to our institutions. I don't think we could ever have the safe and sound institutions that we have out there if not for the involvement of our chaplains and the wonderful work they do in ensuring that they bring faith and hope and all the good things about humankind into our institutions all the time. And I think for Bryn to have started as a chaplain and work his way up to the top of chaplaincy in the Bureau of Prisons with all the wonderful chaplains we have throughout the organization, Bryn, I hope that you recognize that as a wonderful compliment to your career in the Bureau of Prisons, to your career as a chaplain and pastor, and just to the wonderful person that you are. And I just congratulate you on your great career. I wish you and Helen and your family all the best. And I remember I met Helen in Atlanta at Sam Sample's retirement thing. I remember saying to you that this, talking about Bryn, I said, this is one of my favorite people. And she said, yes, he's one of my favorite people too. But Helen, I said that with absolute sincerity. I have tremendous respect. I know you do. I have tremendous respect for you, Bryn, and I wish you all the best. On behalf of all of the staff throughout the Bureau of Prisons and all the lives that you've touched, staff and inmates, I just want to say congratulations and wish you all good things. And I have
Bryn, like Kathy, I'm going to keep my comments short too. Bryn's a very special person. Bryn automatically does things that makes others feel well, feel comfortable with himself. It's just part of Bryn. That's just him. Bryn's truly a nice guy that touches all those around him. A couple of years ago, just to relate a personal incident, a couple of years ago I was living in Southern Illinois. And I had these very close friends that we had sort of drifted apart over the years, me moving around the nation. And I got this phone call one Saturday afternoon from Bryn Carlson, who had met my friends down in Georgia, and somehow or another they got to talking and made this connection. And Bryn called me and put me back in touch with them. And Bryn, it's those things that make you just a special person. And we certainly are going to miss you, myself personally. Bryn, I'd like to present you with the Central Office plaque for your years of service here in the Central Office. And also a clock so that you can keep up with the time in retirement. And Bryn, we wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Bryn, John has asked me to read this very interesting and beautiful poem, and I'd like to do that at this time. When God called Chaplain Carlson 20 years ago to the BOP, he knew that Bryn would fit the bill. He knew just how good that he would be. Bryn Carlson has had a remarkable career while serving God and his country proud. Let every facility in the Bureau know. Let us preach it clear and loud. This man, who we know named Bryn, who came from the northern Wisconsin woods, has touched a lot of hearts and lives, just as God knew he would. But before we tell Bryn Carlson goodbye, there are a couple things we must clear up. We need to shed some light of day on his compulsions before we raise our cups. Now, when Bryn attends a meeting, he makes his precise notes in a straight line. So wherever Bryn goes after here, just give him a ruler and he'll be just fine. This man they called Keys Carlson spent some time in Lewisburg. A tale about some restroom keys is a story that's often heard. This man knows all the Swedish jokes. I think Oli and Lena were his next of kin. His jokes are always enjoyed so much, they surely must be a sin. So before Bryn Carlson retires to his position with the Pentagon, we have gathered together to wish him well. He's been one of the Bureau's finest sons. Congratulations. Grulinski wrote that. Bryn and I enjoy camaraderie in the office, and we deal with a lot of furlough issues and other things, and we kind of correct each other's work. And of course, Bryn is a graduate of Wartburg, and I'm a graduate of Valparaiso, and those are two like institutions. And Bryn is always talking to me about being a Valpo alumni, and so Bryn, the best I can do to honor you is to give you this item, and I'd like you to open it up. And Sue correctly pointed out to me this is wrapped up in the Bureau Population Report, and it says transaction successfully completed, and I guess that's appropriate for retirement. But I would like to present this to you, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, thank you. I thought maybe these were the Valpo colors for me.
Would you peek?
Alumni, Valparaiso University.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now Worthley and I would like to make a presentation of some gifts for you, gifts that all of the people in this room contributed to, and we're very happy to make these gifts to you, and we're sure that all of these things are going to make your retirement a lot more fun, and we hope that they're all things that you can use. Now, one of the things you mentioned that you would be getting a computer, that you'd already told Helen you thought maybe you wanted to get a computer, and so I thought it might be good. You know, we talk about people, if they're going to be successful in retirement, that they should have a piece of the rock. And so I thought, since you're retiring from the BOP, and you're the first chaplain, really, the first chief chaplain in cyberspace, that it would be good to give you a piece of the WAN. And so this is a gift for you. It's really to get some software for that new computer. So a piece of the WAN. You might want to stay here. We have a few other things.
I'll keep this one.
And Helen, I wanted to give you a few, just a few tips. You know, Bryn's done a lot of, besides being the first chaplain in cyberspace, another thing that's pretty important is that Bryn also carried chaplaincy into the post-RIFRA years, and has done a very good job of helping us all to understand what the Religious Freedom Restoration Act is. So I just wanted to give you a few tips on travel. So if you're traveling with Bryn and he insists that he has to take his prayer books along, please be sure that he has those prayer books right with him in his bag, so that there isn't any, so that we're not placing any undue burden on his religion. And if he says that he has to have a hat, we'll just have to, if he has to have a head covering, we have a head covering for him, so that he'll be able to cover his head if he feels the need for religious reasons to cover his head. We tried to get one that looked kind of military for him.
This is my yarmulke, my kufi, and my headband.
On a little more serious point, though, we do have some gifts for you, Bryn, that we hope you'll enjoy, and will make, as I say, your retirement a little more fun. And you did indicate that you wanted to do some exercise, so we hope that'll be a help to you exercising.
I like your wrapping. It's very nice. Now if I can find
Is this for a special man?
I can go ahead and open it? Yeah. I've been the chief, but I've been taking a lot of direction from Susan for a while.
Especially this week.
Yeah. A box of I'm not a runner, but I love to walk. And so I really appreciate this. This is a Sony Sports for a Walkman for walking. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And so you don't lose any of our addresses.
Well, bless your hearts, boss.
That's good.
Thank you very much. The one I got now has one of these little red stickers with an ID number on. You didn't even hear that, did you? The one I have now, Kathy, has a little red sticker with ID numbers on, so that means I have to turn the one in I have. That belongs to the Bureau, so thanks a lot.
Now, we know that Bryn isn't the only one retiring here, and so we want to congratulate Helen for her 35 years of being proud of Bryn, and also her many years of sharing chaplaincy with Bryn. So, Helen, we have a gift for you.
Actually, we go back even further than 35 years ago. The first day I ever laid eyes on Bryn Carlson was when I was in the 7th grade, and he was in the 8th grade, you know, the older man. And I had known his brother because he was in our same class, and they looked somewhat alike at that time. And he came walking down the hall one day, and I thought, ooh. And he looked at me, and you know how kids are when you're in the 8th grade, they nod. And he said, "Hi, Helen." And I thought, I like that. Thank you very much. And I collect angels. I have 3 right here.
There are many people who couldn't be here today, Bryn, but wanted to share in this day, and so we asked them to send their greetings. And so I present you with this book that has greetings from people all over the country, wishing you the best in your retirement.
Thank you, I appreciate it very much. I've spent a lot of hours looking at this.
We also have many plaques and greetings and gifts over on the table there that we won't have time to formally present, but greetings from institutions, from a birdhouse for you to enjoy your...
Is that a birdhouse?
Your own little chapel for Wisconsin. It's for hang in the woods in Wisconsin. And greeting from the Olive Institute. So very many people wanted to share in this special occasion. We did ask some people to make a few comments and extend their congratulations. So I'm going to ask former Director Mike Quinlan to come forward and bring his greeting.
Thank you, Susan, and it's a great privilege for me to have the opportunity to be here today with all of you, and particularly with Bryn and Helen and their 3 children. It's wonderful to meet your children, Bryn and Helen, and also to wish you from the bottom of my heart the best and longest and happiest retirement. I can tell already, though, Bryn, from the conversations we've had recently, that you're not intending to slow down much, and I respect that. That's a wonderful way to stay young. And I wanted to just say thank you personally to Bryn for the tremendous support that he has given to the Bureau and to me when I was director, not only to the inmates of all of our institutions, through his leadership of regional chaplaincy, central office, chief chaplain, but also to the staff of Bureau of Prisons, who on many occasions have needed that kind of support that Bryn brings so beautifully to the crises that individuals might come to in their life. And thank you, Bryn, from everyone for that kind of leadership. And also for your leadership in the American Correctional Association. I think people around the country are going to miss that, and I hope you will stay active with the association, but miss that immediate leadership.
So he took me to this wonderful prison. It was really impressive. All of you have seen this, I'm sure. They had big, high walls there, bigger than most of our churches. And so we went in. Well, we went in one door to get in the main part. And then you were going to show me the chapel. So that had just been recently constructed, if you recall. And so we went through another set of doors. And I was now just busy going through doors. I think there was something like 16 or 17 doors that we finally went through. And so I just kept moving ahead until finally I got inside and I caught my breath and turned around. He was on the outside. And so I was a little concerned, and we started to negotiate a little bit there. And that's why I went to Alabama and to Colorado and all of these other places with you. But that was quite an experience for me. And Bryn, we've had a lot of wonderful times, and he has certainly shown me some wonderful things about what ministry can mean in the institutions of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and what you as staff can do together to bring justice to these who are there. And I just thank you for that opportunity, for that vision that you have given to me. At this time, I would like to bring greetings from the bishop of our church, Bishop H. George Anderson, and he has written a letter that I would like to read to you at this time, and to all of you. Dear Bryn, in this very significant time in your life and ministry, I extend you greetings from myself and from the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. With your retirement from the Federal Bureau of Prisons, I take this opportunity to earnestly thank you for the years of caring and superb ministry you have provided for those in your charge. Thoroughly dedicated to your calling as a pastor, you have used your remarkable gifts well and have effectively responded to the spiritual needs of those whom you have been called to serve. You have been the consummate chaplain in your very special setting of ministry. In your years of service, you have also remained in close touch with your church. We are deeply appreciative of that contact. Through that communication, you have given us a clearer vision of the essential and critical ministry of the federal prison chaplaincies. Your leadership in chaplaincy and in our church has left a positive and lasting impact for good. Among many roles, you have been a pastor's pastor. We give you our thanks. As you move ahead to other ministries, I am confident and grateful you will continue in your positive and affirming relationship with us. I wish for you and Helen God's richest blessings as you make the transition into new ventures of service. I look forward to our ongoing friendship. Signed, H. George Anderson, Presiding Bishop of the Evangelical Lutheran Church. And from myself, Bryn, I really genuinely say thank you. And Helen, we haven't met before, but this man has really been fine and has taken good care of me. You can see that. And we've had some great times, and I just look forward also to the years ahead where we will continue this relationship. Thank you so much.
Por su liderazgo y su ministerio entre nosotros. It's only right that since Brent was one of the people who was very much part of the staffing of the first federal correctional institution outside the continental United States, that I should at least speak a few words to him in Spanish, because he did a great deal of the groundwork working with many church leaders on the island when we were opening the institution there. And it is a privilege for me, in the name of all the chaplains, to say thank you very much for your model of ministry, both to inmates and to staff, and for the spiritual support that you have offered to each and every one of us. And I particularly, although many of you may have known Brent for a long time, I have only met him very recently when I entered the Bureau, and the impact that he has had on me as far as ministry, working with inmates, working with staff, as we do not have other institutions nearby. Brent was in Atlanta. He was very much a mentor, very much a person with whom I was in contact quite frequently. And so I envy those of you who've known him for many years, and I feel bad he's kind of going, but I very much am grateful for the few years of ministry that I've shared with him, and for the opportunity that I had in it while he was the regional director in Atlanta, then in Washington, for many other chaplains to have the experience to come to know you. And so I think it's quite unique too. When Brent came to Puerto Rico, He's one of not too many who come over there and get in a car and on their weekend drive up into the mountains and kind of make a retreat, not knowing the language, taking the risk of finding his way, and he did, and coming in union with the beauty of the island and the koki and so I think your union with creation is part of your reason of your inner peace, and I thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Psychologist, and we have a few others back there because I feel split personality today. And first, I must bring greetings from my own region. My regional director, Mr. Edwards, asked me to bring his regards, and he said he would have liked to have been here, but was unable to attend. So from the region, from Kush Youssef, who has you in highest esteem for the Northeast region, we bring you greetings. And I'm also representing all of the other 5 regional chaplains, and we have been under the leadership of Bryn for the last 18 months, and before that he was an assistant chair, and we have very much enjoyed being with him, first as a peer, as a comrade, as he sat in Atlanta, and then in Washington. And it's been a tremendous ride. I was intimidated by Bryn when I first came in many months ago, and first time I went to the new chaplain's training in 19-something, but at that point he started making some of those jokes, and I patterned.
And have your attention, please.
I saw a chaplain could be serious and could be compassionate, and we've heard about his pastoral skills. I also knew a man that could crack a good joke, or attempt to crack a good joke, and have a good laugh and be a human. And so I said, that's what I want to be. And I've been able to, so far, balance my own ministry and the pattern of Bryn and many others that have influenced my life. But Bryn, you've been a tremendous force in my own career, and I appreciate it. And on behalf of all of the other regional chaplains, we give you greetings, and we ask that you go with God. On behalf of the Northeast, we have a presentation, which you please open that, and this will go with the other institution. While he's opening that, the women at Danbury and the chaplain made a pillow for Bryn, and they embroider it, and it will go with the other one.
The regional office in Philadelphia. Isn't that nice? Blessed are the messengers of freedom. Thank you for all for being here. I'm very touched by your presence. I would like to tell one joke. And many of the folks have already heard this, so you'll have to forgive me, but I don't want this as a message to be taken into the future. But when I first came to my parish in a place called Ishpeming, Michigan, 4th of July, and there was a guy pulled in his pickup truck. His name was Oscar Stensis. I still remember him. Pulled up outside of the sacristy where I was studying as a young pastor, and Ole Flo, spelled F-L-A-A, he was a Finlander. Ole came across the street. He says, "Hey, Oscar," he says, "where you been?" He says, "Ole," he says, "you dummy." He says, "What do you mean you asked where I've been?" He says, "Look at me." He says, "I got my waders on, I got my fishing reel." He says, "I've been fishing, you dummy." "Oh, yeah." He said, "I can see that." He says, "Where you go?" He says, "Ole," he says, "you think I'd tell you where we go fishing?" He says, "You don't tell that kind of secret." He says, "How many fish you catch, Oscar?" He says, "I ain't tell you that either, Ole." Well, he says, "Oscar," he says, "I guess how many fish you got in that creel there?" He says, "You give me one." Oscar says, "Ole, you guess how many fish I got in my creel, and I give them both to you." So Ole says, "I guess 5. Oscar said, "Not too bad, you only missed it by 1. So enough of that. I just have a few comments, and they will be brief, that I would like to make. And I guess these are kind of personal because I did some reflection on my retirement the last 3 or 4 months, and have come to kind of deal with the transition that I'm going to make. And a couple of thoughts I'd like to leave with you if I could. One is, I remember when I was in college and in seminary, I worked in a paper mill to earn money for my way through school. And I was a young student, and there were a lot of fellows in that paper mill who were not a lot older than I was. And yet every time we had a break, all they talked about was retirement. And I thought, holy smokes, I hope when I am 30 years old and I have a job that I'm not talking about my retirement already. Not too long ago, when I came first to the central office, Manny said I had about 18 months left. And I ran into somebody in the hall, I don't remember who it was, had about a month left to work. And they said, how long you got left, Bryn? I said, 18 months. He said, holy smokes, if I had 18 months, I'd shoot myself. And I got to again reflecting on people sometimes wishing their careers away. And I think that sometimes we forget, and we need to remember, and sometimes it's very hard in our job. And of course, being a good Lutheran theologian, I think we need to recognize that work is a blessing. It's not a curse. And I think sometimes we look upon our jobs as kind of a curse that we sometimes have to endure. I'm not saying that's a categorical statement. But over the past couple of weeks, I've had people come up and say to me, congratulations, I wish I were at that point. Folks, don't wish your career away. It's too valuable. And you're doing too valuable a service. You're servicing men and women incarcerated in our institutions who need your kind of service very badly. And you've got the greatest group of people in the world to work with. It's well known in the Bureau, in the federal government, that the Bureau of Prisons is one of the best run agencies because of people like Bryn Carlson, Mike Quinlan, and Kathy Hawk. You've got the greatest organization in the world to work for. Please, don't wish your career away. Work is a blessing and it's not a curse. I've been very blessed in having the opportunity to work for 20 years with the Bureau of Prisons. The second thing I just want to say is that retirement is kind of always something you think about as being in the future. But it does come, believe me, and this is still hard to realize that this is my retirement. I have so often heard about people who retire in the future, especially men, who do nothing and sit, because their whole identity is wrapped up in their work, and they define themselves, who they are, by what they do. Retirement really is not the end of anything except a career in the Bureau. It's a transition. A week or so ago when I was in Phoenix, Joe Arrington, regional chaplain in the South Central Region said to me, well, Bryn, you're riding off into the sunset. Somebody made that comment to me today. And I said, no, I'm not riding off into the sunset. I said, I'm riding over one mountain on the plain for a little while, but there's another one ahead there, and there's another hill. So see retirement as a transition, an opportunity for something new, something creative. It's not the end. And the last thought I want to leave for myself and with you, and this has been the tough one. Fullness in work comes not from what you do. Not always, hardly ever, or what you accomplish. But it comes from who you do it for and who you do it with. When I retire, I'm not going to remember that we got the chaplains finally inserted in the operational emergency procedure plans. You know, I'm not going to remember that we revised the institutional familiarization so that it would combine cultural diversity and religious services. Oh, I might from time to time. But you know what I'm going to remember? I'm going to remember when Eddie Jones went off to Desert Storm. And we had to look for a young chaplain in Tallahassee. We found Joe Pryor. I'm going to remember when we went to Guanabo, and this nun, Joyce Caulfield, walks in the warehouse that we're using for an office and says, I'd like a job. Or I would like to volunteer my work. I took her in and introduced her to Larry Cox, who was the warden. Those of you from the Bureau who know Larry Cox, you know Larry Cox. She was done with his interview. Larry came out to me and said, I want that nun. You ever try to hire a nun in Puerto Rico as a chaplain without checking with the cardinal? I made 3 trips to the cardinal's office. Had it all smoothed, all set. We're going to hire Joyce Caulfield, Catholic nun, as the religious services administrator at Guanabo. You know what Larry Cox did, bless his heart? He sends a letter to the cardinal to Chaplain Caulfield's installation. Well, the Cardinal faxed a letter back within about 2 hours and wanted to know, did you go back on our word? Are you hiring her as a chaplain now? Instead of, you got to get the innuendo in the Hispanic culture in the Catholic Church. Joyce and I went through a number of things. Remember Ray Dowling? Remember in '87? Kurt, you were there. Mike, Kathy, others of you in the Bureau were in Atlanta when Atlanta went down and the Cubans took it over. Ray was taken as a hostage. Every morning for 11 days, I woke up his sister in Washington, the state of Washington, just to give her the message that Ray is okay. In fact, he gave me an extra hug back there today and said, my sister wanted to give you a hug too. So those are the kinds of things you take away. The people you work for and the people you work with. I've been truly blessed. I've been blessed to work with you. I've been blessed by the support of the family. It's not been easy the last 2 years. Most of you know I've lived here alone. We have now moved back to Wisconsin from Georgia. Because of the situation, we decided to do it that way. So I'm blessed and very touched that they would be here today. They've been very supportive of my career. Those of you who are in the Bureau know that we move. I haven't moved as frequently as a lot of others, but don't tell my wife that. So you know what it means to have the support of a family who cares and nurtures you. So I dearly thank them. I thank the folks for being here. Kathy, I thank you for your presence, Mike, the assistant directors. And I'm particularly grateful for some of the chaplains who've come from the field. Ray Dowling all the way from Texas. Joyce Caulfield came from Puerto Rico. Others of you came from institutions nearby and far. And I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for your love, your support, and I wish God's blessings upon each one of you as you continue in your career. Don't ever forget what we're in this business for. And don't forget to treat each other with kindness and humaneness and honesty and integrity. Thank you, and God bless each one of you.
The experiences that we have enjoyed with him. Thank you for the wisdom that he has given and the leadership that he has given to the chaplains. Now, Lord, you are freeing him from some of those burdens. We would pray that as he is released from this work, that you would give him just as great a joy with the new task that you give to him. We thank you that you know the future, and so we commit him to your care. We think of the work that must go on. We're mindful that the mantle passes on to Sister Susan. We ask that you would be with her in as great a measure as you have been with Bryn. We're mindful too, Lord, that there's great need in each of our institutions. There's continued challenges. And so, Lord, we would pray for guidance and direction for each of these institutions and for all of our administrators to be able to be led by your will. For this we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Before Elizabeth sings, I'd just like to thank one other person. Dorothy, thank you. Dorothy's been our secretary in our office for the last 2 years, and we've gone through a lot together. And I don't want to be remiss in thanking you and ask God's blessings with you, Dorothy. Thanks a lot.
Since it's difficult for the people here to stand for the benediction, we'll let you go ahead and stay seated. And we're going to have Elizabeth sing our benediction.
Let me first say congratulations to Bryn, because Bryn had my life in his hands briefly, because he was the one who interviewed me and who was instrumental in making the decision to bring me on as a chaplain in the Bureau of Prisons, and he's encouraged and supported me throughout the years, and for that I'm grateful. How can I say thanks for the things you have done for me? Things so undeserved, yet you gave to prove your love for me. The voices of a million angels could not express my gratitude. All that I am and ever hope to be, I owe it all to thee. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. To God be the glory for the things he has done. Just let me live my life and let it be pleasing, Lord, to thee. And should I gain any praise, let it go to Calvary. With his blood he has saved me. With his power God has raised me. To God be the glory for the things, for the things, for the things he has done.
Again, I thank you for coming, and I thank Susan and Al and Dorothy and the rest of the folks who put this together. I know Susan spearheaded it in the same manner. She works in the office, and the office with Al and Susan running the office now, and Dorothy still being there is in good and safe hands. So, Susan, I particularly thank you because I know that you were instrumental in putting all this together, and I know you had a good time doing it. So I appreciate it. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it very much.